Is it framed?
Is it framed?
Yeah. Like what you see, like.
Oh.
Will you make sure it's.
I got you. Give me a frame.
No. Wait, will you just make sure this is recording? Because I'm probably going to start.
What does recording mean?
A red dot.
It's flashing. No, well, there's a flashing red dot on the side, and then there's like a red dot on the screen.
So it's recording.
Oh, okay.
And without further ado, let us begin. First, I'm going to take you through some of our most successful articles with the Rival DC, or with GW's version of The Rival. So coming in at about 7,000 hits, we have an article by the director of content at GW. Her name is Quinn Scanlon, and she is quite simply my rock, my muse, dare I say it, a very, very good friend. She wrote an article called Zim Zam Hot Damn What Happened to Delta Gam. This article has a lot of elements of an incredible, incredible piece of work. Number one, the opening anecdote is absolutely brilliant, okay? Uses specific student and faculty names. It hooks you in immediately by using a story. You immediately want to know more. Hooks are important. Number two, it impacts a ton of students, okay? 20% of the student population is Greek. So inherently, by having articles about the Greek population, you're going to be speaking to a lot of students. But this doesn't necessarily have to be Greek. This could be about anything that impacts a large group of students. The arts, athletics, student government, if these are things that people care about a lot at your school, it would be a smart thing to talk about. What? Number three, the author put in a ton of work. This wasn't the type of article where someone rolled out of bed and then just vomited the first 500 words onto a page. She went and talked to people from the Interfraternity Council, people that are involved in the sorority, the president herself, and got her take on it, sorority sisters, got input on Facebook. She did work. That is the most important thing. Number two story, coming in at about 5,000 to 6,000 hits. We've got top 15 Halloween costumes for Halloween weekend. It is quite successful for three reasons. One, it is an example of what we call ultra engaging content. There's going to be examples of that later. Number two, it's extremely provocative. People want to confirm or be sorely disappointed that they are among the best of their student body at X. So imagine top 10 tailgates, top 5 student leaders, top 20 hottest professors. You get the picture. Lists, but done in a unique way, are a great, great, great idea. Coming in at number three, 4,500 hits. We've got 7 places to replace our beloved McFadden's. I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I wrote it. It's got a few elements of things that would be successful for The Rival. Number one, it's hyper-local. It discusses venues, events, locations of any kind that are local to your school. If there's a bar that everyone goes to, for example, for us it was McFadden's. If there's a restaurant, a club, if there's a place that people all go to or it's commonly known, it's a good thing to write about. My go-to is humor. So drop bits of jokes, write in your personal tone like I did here. Like, this authentic and sort of native tone is relatable. Number three, it's simply great for social strategy. Again, if you talk about local places or local people, it's very easy on the strategy end, on Facebook, Twitter, on Sidebar, wherever it may be, to tag those people and get them involved in the article and get them talking about it and get them resharing it, things like that. Number four is an article called Actually You're Racist. Very provocative headline. And that's actually one of the biggest things. We're actually going to get to headlines later. But anyways, the biggest thing about this article is a large social issue spun around a unique student perspective. Things like race, economic status, gender, sexuality, educational background, ethnicity, those things all shape an individual's student experience. And if we don't talk about it, we are alienating other people that might also be having that experience, whether it be positive or negative. Don't be afraid to talk about the things that you're passionate about, the things that affect you every single day. This is educational. In this article, she teaches us the definition of the word microaggression, which we're all guilty of them, but a lot of people don't even know what they are. Use The Rival as a tool to teach people what they don't already know, but what you feel is important that they do know. This article had an impact on the amount of microaggressions that actually happen at GW. It's got a title that begs for more. You just read a headline that called you a racist. You gonna ignore it? Probably not. It's extremely provocative. It gets you to read the article, but it's not just clickbait. In this case, there's an extreme amount of substance. It's just an incredible headline that actually got you to the article. Number five, at 3,500 views, this article was amazing. It's called A Long Hard Look at Sex at GW. It is a statistical analysis packed full of visuals and graphs and charts of how people hook up at GW. That's nuts. He put out a survey and got over 400 students to respond, which actually can lead to statistically significant data, right? He can come to actual conclusions about the GW student body and how they hook up. Let's break it down. Number one, data is king. That is one of the best things about this article. Using things like the polls, using things like Google Forms and surveys, you can get hard data about what people are doing at your school, what their opinions are. I mean, you can get a lot of really great metrics that you can then analyze and come to actual conclusions about your school. We found out that more students are doing more stuff when they're not in a relationship than when they are in a relationship. Stuff like finger play. Number two, visuals are pretty. When you're working with data, you have the ability to create charts and graphs, and people want to see that. Number three, sex is an easy topic, but applying hard data to it is not. We can write about sex, we can write about things that are very student culture, like drugs and alcohol and stuff, and those are what we call soft news topics, and they're important because those are things that students care about. But we take it a level further, and we show other people that there's a level of professionalism that we're capable of when we do things like apply data and research to it. So what this student did, he teamed up and used a lot of the school's resources. He teamed up with a statistician that worked in the library. He spoke to journalists. He did a lot of research online. It is an extremely professional, well done, comprehensive look at sex. Okay. Okay. What if she poops? I literally don't know what to do. Oh boy. Okay. All right. We're just gonna. Now we're gonna go into our section on special content. This is something we've already gone over in director training. Don't give her coffee. So special content, there's three types. It's very important that directors and editors alike be aware of special content because we're always looking to do it. Number one, we've got breaking news. You know exactly what this is, okay? If we can have an exclusive on a story, if we can be the only ones to talk about it, that is huge not only for the rival, but for you as a writer and for the publication at your respective schools. Some examples of that would be flash articles like if a concert headliner is announced, if an administrator steps down, a student business takes off, a celebrity comes to town, a new dorm is being constructed for millions, tuition is going up or down. These things happen a lot, and if we can be one of the first to write it, if not the first, that's a big deal. Winifred. Okay. Number two type of special content is called ultra engaging content. This is gonna be things like the Halloween article that I talked about before. Let me explain an ultra engaging article. This is an article that you might be listed in, your friend might be listed in, or someone you know might be listed in. It's an article where there's so many names and different students listed that you would be insane to miss it. These articles just work, and there's lots of opportunities to do them as well. Number two, if we're gonna do an ultra engaging article, we don't wanna be extremely basic, right? You don't wanna be like, top 15 places to study on campus. No, God! Or top 5 best items from the dining hall. Dining hall? Is it a dining hall? It sounds like camp. Student center? The eatery? The kid cafe? No. The place where you go and eat. Yeah, we don't wanna be basics like the hottest seniors or like the kids that are most likely to succeed. These are really easily done. Number three type of special content, number three and final type of special content is we want to try and make national headlines, all right? This is part of our big, hairy, audacious goal, right? If we can break big headlines at our schools and therefore our network of schools, you as an editor or a writer or a director will be responsible for content that makes it to a national stage. You reach hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, specifically students, which is huge. This is totally possible. So the best example I could think of is an organization called The Tab, and they're basically a student tabloid that mostly operates in the United Kingdom, although they've tried to expand to the US. They've done a couple things right, and that's capture things on the local level at their schools, write about them, and have those things become really big sensations on the national stage. So for example, in 2012, did you guys hear of the milking craze? It's where people in public spaces would attempt to milk each other.
Just like you milk a cat.
Like you milk a cat. It's where you go into a public space and literally dump a glass of milk onto your head.
Oh my god, dude. Milk.
I mean, what is so funny about pouring milk on your head?
Number two, in 2013, they revealed that one of the university's Christian unions banned a female speaker from speaking That, of course, has lots of gendered implications. Student unions across the UK started protesting, and they pioneered a campaign to ban Robin Thicke's Blurred Lines. And then again in 2013, DJ Tim Westwood, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this guy, but he's a white dude that loves hip hop, I guess.
Yo, it's Tim Westwood TV, up at the crib session, about to go in legendary, about to make a movie. Out of Funk Volume, my man Hobson, let's go!
He was caught unleashing a torrent of sexist jibes at Leicester's student union. Define jibes. An insulting or mocking remark or a taunt. Okay, that makes sense. Again, it is possible to make national headlines if you write about what you're passionate about, if you catch sensational things happening on your campus, if you find a story that might be happening near you that has much wider implications. I like that noise. Can we get it tight close to that noise? Number one, summarize the article without being too abstract. You don't want to write something that may sound creative in your mind as the writer because you understand what you're writing about, but alienate the readers who might not have any idea what you're talking about in your headline. Number two, be clever, be funny, use puns, be creative. You don't want to be too dry. 80% of our traffic is going to come from social media, so you want to make sure that these things are clickable. So here's an example of that. One man's culture is another man's couture. I got to make sure I'm pronouncing that right. Couture.
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 Courture.
Couture.
Cummerbund.
Couture.
This was about how New York Fashion Week is still dominated by men. A political article in nature, also one that really loops people in, and the headline itself is extremely, extremely creative, well done. Uses alliteration, uses a play on words. It's fantastic. Number three, pose intriguing or controversial arguments or stances. So for example, does the media perpetuate school shootings? Another example, students don't vote and it's the reason you have student loans. This touches people on a lot of levels, right? Talking about student loans, talking about how the student generation is, we're so engaged on social media, but we don't vote. Posing intriguing or controversial arguments or stances like this go a very long way. Number four, rule for headlines, know your audience. Use phrasing, school brands like recognizable people, places. So for example, we had an article called GW to allow Georgetown students into Gelman as subjects for stress relieving nerd bashing. This article uses the words Georgetown, Gelman, GW. These are all relative terms to the students at GW who will recognize a lot of those, what we call school brands, right? Number five, use the word you. For example, things you didn't know about blah, blah, blah. Things you should consider, or you're blank. They'll want to click on it and hear your voice and see what you have to say about whatever you think is important. I want my bowel movements to smell a lot better, like cinnamon. Is there a pill that will make my bowel movements smell better? So that concludes headlines. Let's move on to some best practices, okay? Coming in number one, the featured story needs to change every day, and so does the poll. Talking to you directors and you editors. Be sure to change the poll at least once a week. We've had problems at The Rival at GW where our poll would still be talking about midterms at the end of the year. No. Number two best practice, weekly analytics. Again, Director of Communications, I'm talking to you. The biggest and most important thing about weekly analytics, and I'm talking to you again, Director of Communications, is sending out a weekly email, put it on Beatboard, GroupMe, wherever it is that most people communicate, send them analytics so writers know what is performing well, if they are doing well, if they're on the top of the charts. It's important that these students know that their work is A, being recognized from you two as directors and editors, and B, that they have something to aspire to. They want to strive to be in that top 5 list. Number three, and this ties into my last point, constant feedback. You want to constantly be in communication with your writers, telling them what you like, what you don't like. Let them give you feedback as well. That shows a mutual respect. That's very important. But feedback is probably the most important thing in a creative or informational context. Number four, I want to reemphasize something to all people in positions of leadership. So again, editors, directors. The ethos of The Rival is very, very simple. We take a bottom-up approach to everything. This is what sets us apart from any other student publication and probably most other publications that exist. We believe that the creativity, the stories, the information, what we consider newsworthy starts at the ground level, so starts at the writers and moves up. Rather than having editors and directors telling writers what to do or letting overall trends in our content dictate what we do, the writers are the ones that go and pursue the stories that they want to pursue. They write it in the way that they want to write it in. Editors are there to encourage this sort of activity and make sure that they're fact checking and that everything checks out journalistically. And directors are there to see big overall trends in our content and making sure that we are internally operating. Number 5, boosting posts and inviting people to like your page. This is crucial pre-launch, which pages you should like, how you should be sharing. And this goes across social media like Facebook, Twitter, all the way to LinkedIn. Number 6, if you guys find yourself sharing things on Facebook or Twitter or wherever, but tag relevant groups in these articles. If you write a post about Guy Fieri, tag the Food Network. I mean, if you write about the Environmental Protection Agency, tweet at the EPA, tweet at President Obama. Who knows what can happen? I think the most important key to success, and this is something to pass along to your writers, editors, I'm talking to you, is to remember the 4 E's. Educate, entertain, engage, and excite. Crucial, crucial, crucial. If we can try to accomplish all 4 of these things in our work, then we've done it. We've won. We've beat the haters. Thank you very much for joining Miles and myself and Winnie for this first episode of Points. Oh, we never decided. What are we going to call this?
You want to call it the casting call?
Rival casting call. Rival casting call.
Hashtag news.
We could just call it hashtag news. Like we write out the word hashtag news. This has been episode 1 of hashtag news. Miles and I will be joining you hopefully on a week-by-week basis to send you the latest Rival stuff. But I hope you've enjoyed episode 1. More to come. We out.